I'm going to get started. So as you see here in front of you, there is a PowerPoint that I prepared for today for the class. The topic of the class is Korban, Pesah, Berit, Milah, and national identity. Now, as you notice, just the way these Zoom classes work, little difficult to make it a back and forth with Zoom. Sometimes there's technical difficulties. So I'll be teaching and I'll stop maybe, maybe midway and take a couple of questions. At the end, take a few questions. We should be finished by 11:30, so you can get to your next class. So I'm going to get started. Just to start with this as well, the SCA Tanakh Study Day of Learning was dedicated in honor of our community's selfless medical professionals. And may our learning merit the Refuah Shelemah of our dear founder, this is the SCA, Stanley Chera, Shlomo Ben Shoshana, and all those that have fallen ill. So just keep that in mind for today's class. Okay, so this topic, Korban, Pesah, Berit, Milah, and national identity. Okay, I'm going to show a connection between Korban, Pesah, and Berit, Milah, and speak as well about this idea of national identity. So important for Hag HaPesach coming up. As a nation, it was such an important time in history that we identify with. So we have to see how Korban Pesach and Berit Milah fall together under that category. And we're going to see how I arrived at this conclusion of the connection between these two. So let's start from Shemot, Perek Yod Bet, Pasuk Gimal. As you see here on the screen, I'm sharing this with you. Good. I already have a comment, and I'll interject if you want to comment to me from one of my students, Ezra Rosenfeld, who commented that they are both mitzvot aseh with karet. Very nice, Ezra. We'll get to that later on in the shiur. I'm so happy that you interjected with that. So let's start with Shemot Perek Yod Bet. We were instructed in Mitzrayim. Moshe was instructed by God to tell Bnei Yisrael that on the 10th day of Chodesh Nisan, every family shall take a seh, should take a lamb on the 10th day of Nisan. And on the 10th day, they're going to watch over this lamb for 4 days until the 14th of Nisan, on which they would sacrifice the Korban Pesach. And we find, interestingly enough, this same date, again, this is the date that they were told to take the animal for the Korban. This same date comes up 40 years later in the book of Yehoshua. 40 years later, on the same date that Bnei Yisrael were instructed to take the Korban Pesach and watch over it, we crossed the Yarden. We crossed the Jordan. As you see here in front of you on the bottom, והעם עלו מן הירדן בעשור לחודש הראשון, ויחנו בגלגל בקצה מזרח יריחו. The people came up from the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. Right? So what happened on the 10th day of Nisan? Little summary here. Bnei Yisrael were asked to take the lamb and watch over the Korban Pesach in year 1. And 40 years later, on year 41, Bnei Yisrael crossed the Yarden. Now, if we take a look in Sefer Yehoshua, that's what we're going to look at the moment, we find something very interesting. We find also, 40 years later, that the Tanakh points out for us that on the 14th day of Nisan, in the time of Yehoshua, Bnei Yisrael did the Korban Pesach. Right? On that same day that we did it in Mitzrayim, we do it 40 years later. But here's something that Sefer Yehoshua brings up. Okay? In Sefer Yehoshua, Bnei Yisrael are unable to do the Korban Pesach until they get a Berilah. Let me repeat that. Bnei Yisrael are unable to give the Korban Pesach in the time of Yehoshua until they do a Berit Milah. And let's read this pasuk. Ba'etahi Amar Adonai el Yehoshua, Aseh lecha harbot surim, veshuv mol et Bnei Yisrael shenit. At that time, Hashem told Yehoshua, make yourselves these knives and go again, veshuv, and return and repeat. Mol et bnei Yisrael sheni. Give bnei Israel a berit milah shenit. Now, what does this word shenit mean? That's what we're going to focus on. If you want to chat in with me, you could chat in with me what you think this word means. Go give bnei Israel a berit milah a second time. What is this second time that they're getting a berit milah? What was the first time? So if you want, again, some of you are already chatting in an answer. Again, I like to make this a little interactive as well, but hard with the voices because of some technical difficulties. So I already see some answers coming in. Very good. So Bitya answered Keshiyatzu Mitzrayim, when they left Mitzrayim. Maybe they already had Berit Milah when they left Mitzrayim. I see an answer also, a second Milah. So again, when was the first Berit Milah? But when was the first ever Berit Milah? Right, a spiritual reconnection of the covenant. Again, what means Shenit? What does it mean Shenit, that they're getting a second Berit Milah? So I saw some of the answers that were put in the chat. Very good, Dar. Very good. Avraham Avinu is also another option. So let's take a look right now here. So here you have Abar Benel, right? Doris and some other just bad ends. Abar Benel. Abar Benel says that the first time that Bnei Yisrael got a Berit Milah was with Avraham Avinu. And the second time is now. The Radak, Rabbeinu David Kimchi, says that the word Sheni means not a second time, but Leshanen. Leshanen means to do it over and over again. Since there were numerous people in need of a Berit Milah, they got it Shenit, a second and third, meaning it was done over and over again to all of Bnei Yisrael. And the third opinion was, and that's what we're going to focus on for the remainder of this class, is the opinion of Rashi, Rasag, the Rambam, when he quotes it, is there had already been a circumcision. On the night of their departure from Egypt, a large assembly were collectively circumcised, and this was the second time. I'm going to repeat that again. Rashi brings up on the spot that there was already a national Berit Milah in Yetziat Mitzrayim. That when Bnei Yisrael were leaving Egypt, there was a national Berit Milah. Now, there's one problem with that opinion. If you open the Chumash and you look in Sefer Shemot, you will never find a comment there by the Torah that Bnei Yisrael got a national Berit Milah as they were leaving Egypt. What we do know, there's a pasuk in Sefer Shemot that says, anyone know, want to chat in with me, what it does say about Korban Pesach in Sefer Shemot? So, Doris, I'm going to answer your question in a moment. Who says they didn't get it on their 8th day? We're going to look in the Rambam in the Nevuchim in a moment that actually addresses your exact question. Okay? So let's look at that. Ram. One second, I see a chat coming in. Right, Doris, all excellent questions. The Ram addresses that, and we're going to address that in the rest of the class. Excellent. So let's look now to answer this in a moment. First of all, we want to see for a moment, you know what, let me go to that question you just had, okay? We're moving forward a little bit because I want to work off the time that we have and the questions and answers that we have in the chat, which is excellent. Let's look at the Rambam here in the Moreh Nevuchim. I actually read this Rambam yesterday for the first time ever in the Moreh Nevuchim. I actually bought this book a few weeks ago, the Moreh Nevuchim. It's an excellent book. It's available online as well on Sephora. That's where I pulled off this translation from. But he's actually talking about the purpose of the Korbanot. And when he's talking about the purpose of the Korbanot, he happens to hit on this topic of Berit Milah during Yetziat Mitzrayim. I'll read the Hebrew and I'll translate in the English. It's on the bottom. Ve'omnam, heyoto asur la'arelim. The idea that arel, someone that's uncircumcised, cannot do the Korban Pesach, Kevar biaru hachamim zal. Our rabbis in the Midrash, in Midrash Rabbah, also an excellent book to own, is the Midrash Rabbah. I read a Midrash yesterday on Vayikra as well. Excellent to have the Midrash Rabbah. Kevad biaru hachamim zal shamru hem bitelu mitzvat milah. It's explained, look at the red underline. The Israelites neglected circumcision during their long stay in Egypt in order to make themselves appear like the Egyptians. Okay? We don't see that in the Torah itself. We see that in Sefer Yehezkel, Perek Kaf. In Sefer Yehezkel, Perek Kaf, it mentions that God tried to redeem us from Egypt, but we were stubborn and we were still doing Avodah Zarah. And here's one of the things that we were doing wrong in Egypt. We neglected circumcision in Egypt in order to make ourselves like the Egyptians. Okay? And then Harabam continues. When God gave them the commandment of the Passover, or we'll call it the Pesah sacrifice, in order that no one should kill the Passover lamb unless he, his sons, and all the male persons in his household were circumcised, that only then he could come near and keep it. And then what happened? All the people performed the commandment of Berit Milah. Meaning, that the moment that God commanded about Berit Milah with Korban Pesach, that's when Bnei Israel finally got a Berit Milah. So Doris, to answer your question, according to this Midrash that Harabam quotes here in the Moreh, we didn't do Berit Milah in Mitzrayim for many years in order to make ourselves like Egyptians. And then Harabam mentions, one second, let me look at this comment. Elliot Levy, I'll answer your question in a moment about the 40 years in the desert. So they all formed this commandment, and the number of the circumcised being large, the blood of the Passover and that of the circumcision flowed together. Says the Midrash, Dam Milah was mit'areh bedam Pesach. We had together the dam of the Berit Milah, the blood of the Berit Milah, got mixed together with the dam of the Korban Pesach. Because of all the blood that was circulating, again, this is just a concept, an important idea, that the blood of Korban Pesach was as if mixed together with the dam of the Berit Milah of Bnei Israel. Meaning there was a lot of blood. Now you might say that's something disgusting. Well, no, we're talking about dam berit. We're talking about dam of our covenant with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Harambam brings up this idea of the Midrash from a pasuk in Yehezkel. Ve'elzeh ramaz be'omro mitboseset bedamayich. Dam ha-Pesach ve'dam ha-Milah. The dam of the Pesach and the dam of the Milah are connected. Someone just put in a comment that Shenit is the first was Avraham. Again, that was the opinion of the Abar Benel. We're going to go with the opinion of Rashi that the Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon and the Rambam here brings up in Moreh Nevuchim. So again, I'm not rejecting that opinion as possible Peshat, but I'm bringing up something that you may not be aware of from the Midrash that Harambam here brings up in Moreh Nevuchim. Now, what is this pasuk in Yehezkel? Harambam says that this idea that we had two bloods in Egypt, the blood of the national Berit Milah, the blood of the Korban Pesach, were mixed together, are brought up by a pasuk in Yehezkel. Look over here on the screen. Some of the high schoolers that I see us joining with us today learned this pasuk in a class 2 weeks ago. Pasuk says as follows, and it's actually brought up in some of the modern Haggadot. It's a very modern pasuk that's added into some of the Haggadot. Va'evor alayich va'ereh mitposeset bedamayich. Va'omar lach bedamayich hayi. Va'omar lach bedamayich hayi. You might recognize this pasuk from, anyone know? When did we scream out this pasuk? In unison, many people together. If you want to chat this in to the chat. When do we use this pasuk otherwise during the year? Va'evor alayich va'ereh mitposeset. when I passed by you and I saw you wallowing in your blood, and I said to you, live in, very good, Freddie, live in spite of your blood. Yeah, I said to you, live in spite of your blood. Very good, Freddie. I'm assuming Freddie is Freddie Grunsfeld. Very good job. Yes, this is the pasuk that we use at the Berit Milah. And we say that God passed over us and saw us wallowing in our blood. And all of the Hachamim on this, many of them say that in Sefer Yehezkel, where God is presenting this imagery of that I passed over you in your blood, that it's talking about Mitzrayim. That in Mitzrayim, God saw us disgusted in our blood. Peshat is, it's talking about when we were in our blood from all of our hard work. But the Midrash says, why the pasuk repeat twice that I told you you're going to live through your blood? Again, back to my point before, that blood, why are we so happy about blood? Why are we living by blood? Why is Harambam mentioning in the previous source that this blood of the Korban Pesach and Berit Milah being mixed together? And the Midrash says beautifully, you know why it's repeated twice that you should live through your blood? Because in the first one, it's talking about the Korban Pesach. Live in spite of the blood of Korban Pesach. You should be living through the blood of Korban Pesach that you have to take. And remember, we took it and we were putting it around the mezuzot and doorpost, right? You're living in spite of your blood. And then the second mention of it is about the blood of Berit Milah. So again, the Midrash shows us how this pasuk hints towards the idea of the Berit Milah and Korban Pesach Mitzrayim together. Okay? So that explains this idea of we weren't circumcised in Egypt and we had to get a national circumcision. Just like, to take us backwards for a moment to this pasuk, to go and circumcise Bnei Israel a second time. And we said the opinion of the second time being the first time was in Mitzrayim. The first time we had a national Berit Milah was in Mitzrayim. Crucial that although it's not in the Pesukim, that we understand that we had a national Berit Milah in Mitzrayim. Now to move forward over here, there's another Midrash that says that everyone took, when God mentioned you have to be circumcised in order to do Korban Pesach, the Midrash in a different place asks, so who circumcised them? Who circumcised Bnei Israel in Egypt? Think about it. We were about to do Korban Pesach and we need a Berit Milah. Who circumcised us? Right? What's this national Berit Milah? So Rabbi Berechia says in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Moshe was the Mohel. Interesting, as the Roosevelt chatted in, maybe Aharon, Moshe, and the Zekenim. So look at the Midrash in front of you. They say Moshe was Mohel, Aharon was Poreya, and Yehoshua was Mashke, the wine. And Yesh Omrim, some say that Yehoshua did the Berit Milah. And that would explain why we're saying that Yehoshua is doing it 40 years later. There's an opinion in the Midrash that Yehoshua was the one that led the first national Berit Milah in Mitzrayim. And then he's doing it again 40 years later. So that when it's the second time, it's Yehoshua is doing it a second time. Now, one second, sorry. Now we answered the goal of the Berit Milah. We see the goal of the Berit Milah is to separate us from the Egyptians, right? It separates us from the Egyptians that Bnei Israel were trying to mimic. So it separates us from them. And I'll even add to that. And I'll look at the chat in a moment. Someone chatted something in. I'll even add to that. Look at the purpose of the Berit Milah in Sefer Yehoshua. Vayomer Adonai Yehoshua, Hayom galoti et herpat Mitzrayim me'alechem. When you got a Berit Milah, because you couldn't get one, all of you people that are through the desert, when you're getting a Berit Milah, because you couldn't get one in the desert because it was too dangerous, and now you got one, Hayom galoti et herpat Mitzrayim me'alechem. I'm removing the disgust of Egypt from you. There's something disgusting about Egypt connected to this idea of Berit Milah, because the Egyptians behaved disgustingly with their eved, with this part of their body. They had all the Gilui Arayot in Mitzrayim. So now this place is called Gilgal in the time of Yehoshua, because God is taking away the disgust of Egypt from you. Not having a Berit Milah makes you like Egyptian. That's what the Tanakh is saying. That's what Harambam is saying. So now what's the purpose of the Korban Pesach and how does that relate? Sorry, I just zoomed through a lot. My apologies. What's the goal of Korban Pesach? So let's go back to Harambam in that same Moreh Nevuchim. And he says as follows. This is also the reason why we were commanded to kill a lamb on Passover. And to sprinkle the blood thereof outside on the gates. We had to free ourselves of evil doctrines and to proclaim the opposite. Hanabah mentions that the idea of korbanot, the idea of the korbanot that we give in the Torah that we read yesterday, some of us hopefully read it at home, the idea of the korbanot that we give, all of the, many of you have heard this before, all of the details of the korbanot are to remove us all of the evil ways of Avodah Zarah. It's to remove us from all of the evil actions of Avodah Zarah and to proclaim the opposite idea that we believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, when we kill the lamb on Passover, and many of you know this already, but you may not see this inside in the actual Harambam, is that you were rewarded for performing openly a service that object idolatry. When we did Korban Pesach, we were saying we are not idolaters. Idolaters didn't sacrifice a seh, didn't sacrifice a lamb. They didn't sacrifice these types of animals. Actually, Harambam mentions that they sacrificed lions. They didn't sacrifice a goat or a sheep or a lamb. We didn't do that. Right? Because it was their gods. So Rambam mentioned here that just like with Berit Milah, we're removing ourselves from the Egyptian way. When we're doing the Korban Pesach, we're also removing ourselves from the Egyptian way. And therefore, if we look carefully back to Ezra Rosenfeld's comment in the beginning, that Korban Pesach and Berit Milah share a very important feature. And what is that feature? Ezra, where are you, Ezra? I want to get you to be able to speak this if you'd like, but I can't find you here, so I'll just mention it again. So Ezra Rosenfeld again mentioned in the chat earlier on that they both share the feature of they are both mitzvot aseh you can get karet for not doing. I'll repeat that again. Every other mitzvah that you get karet for is a mitzvat lo ta'aseh. For example, not eating hametz. That is a mitzvat lo ta'aseh, that if you did it on purpose, you get karet for that. There's only 2 mitzvot in the entire Torah that are a positive mitzvah, and you still get karet if you don't do that mitzvah. Think about that for a moment. Think about the fact you could get karet, you get cut from the nation for not doing an action. It should be you did an action you were told not to do. That's it, you're out. But no, there are 2 mitzvot, and the Ibn Ezra points that out as well. The only 2, he says, I only found 2 mitzvot in the entire Torah. you get karet for that are positive commandments. And those are Korban Pesach and Berit Milah. Right. But they also share another feature, and Doris mentioned this as well in the chat. They also share a feature of blood. And what is that feature of blood, and why is it so important, this idea of blood, right? Why are they so interconnected? Why these two mitzvot? So they are. Think about it for a moment, right? Why do we give a Berit Milah to a child who is already born a Jew? You're born to a Jewish mother. You're born to Jewish parents. Why do I need to give my child a Berit Milah? Right? I had the wonderful opportunity a few months ago to appoint Morris Abraham as a mohel for my son. But my son was born into a Jewish family. Why do I need to give a Berit Milah? Very good. Doris, beautiful. And Moshe, very interesting. They're both cutting, and you get cut off for not doing it. Very interesting. But Doris, I want to go with what you're saying here. To assert your identity and submit yourself to the covenant. But look what you're doing, right? Right? Look what you're doing when you're giving the Berit Milah. You are asserting, you're establishing your agreement with his identity. You are saying he is a Jewish child. You bring him into the world and into a Berit with Hashem. And that's the same idea with the Korban Pesach. Why smear the blood of the Korban on the doorpost and the lintel? Hashem knows who's an Israelite. What? The second the mashchit, the destroyer, comes out, and he has to see who to protect, right? He has to see who to have compassion on. He comes to your doorpost and he goes, "Oh, you have blood there. Oh, you must be an Israelite. Fine, I'll keep going." No, it's a self-assertion that you know that you're asserting that you and your family are all part of Am Yisrael. That's national identity. Exactly how Doris formulated that. I love Doris. To assert your identity and submit yourself to the covenant. That is national identity. That is the Korban Pesach. That is why the night of the Seder, I know this year it's very difficult with the way we're set up, but no, it's not difficult. Each family, we say, we say, Ish sele bet avot sela bayit. Every bayit had the Korban Pesach. So this year we have our opportunity as a bayit to assert our identities at the night of the Seder. The Seder was an assertion, is an assertion of the Higadta bincha. Think about that, the connection. On the night of the Seder of Pesach, reminding us Korban Pesach, we have to teach our children the same idea of the Berit Milah. You're establishing the identity of our children and as our families as part of Am Yisrael. And so I want to end with two ideas. Adak says, David Kimchi, that in the merit of these two mitzvot, Bnei Yisrael left exile. These are what brought our redemption. These two mitzvot, Berit Milah and Korban Pesach. And in the Sinsino Chumash, that Tanakh I read yesterday, Rabbi Fish says, moral is that self-sacrifice endures life, a paradox which is exemplified in Jewish history. We have to sacrifice something of ourselves in order to be part of Am Yisrael. That's part of Jewish history. So I end with this point, and I end with this idea of the importance of the night of Pesach, the Seder night, of us establishing our identity through, we have been through the Seder and we might think, oh, this is so difficult. We're going through the Seder night and there's so much to do. We have to read so much before we eat. And no, we're remembering the sacrifice that our ancestors had in Egypt, in the desert, Tam Yehoshua. And we ourselves are giving up part of ourselves, and end with that pasuk that we had in Sefer Yehezkel, Va'omar lach b'damayich hayi, Va'omar lach b'damayich hayi. It's through this blood, through this sacrifice, that we live as part of Am Yisrael. I want to end thanking you for joining us for this class on Korban Pesach, Berit, Milah, and National Identity. You could go to scapesach.org for the rest of today's schedule. If anyone wants to stay on for a couple of minutes to ask any questions, I know I ended at 11:30, and there's some beautiful classes I saw, including Vivian Hiddery, who's teaching right now. I don't have the whole in front of me, but I know she is teaching right now. So please make sure you go to the rest of your classes. And if you want to stay on for 5 minutes, I'm more than happy to stay on if they let me. I don't know, Michael, what the rules are with this, with all the other classes going on. But
you can stay.
And
The next class is at 12.
No, they have 11:30. I thought, like Vivian Hiddery and stuff. No,
that's not on this platform.
Not on this platform, right? They could stay if they want to ask, but there are many other. If you want to email me, I'm going to put in my email here. I would love to send you this source sheet if you like. My email I'm going to put here. Right, if you like to email me, rabbidweck@gmail.com. I'll send you the source sheet. I probably could have, actually, one second. I can actually upload it if you want to stay on. I can actually upload the file right now if you'd like it. I'm more than happy to share the file with you. Okay, having some technical difficulties with that. So if you want to email me and I could send you the class. I could send you that whole source sheet if you like it. I'm more than happy to share. Just send me an email. So now I'll take any questions. If there's questions, please use the raise hands feature. Makes it easier to find out who has a question. This way I can take any questions if you'd like. Or you can actually physically raise your hand if you'd like. Otherwise, I'll end this. I don't mind if there's no questions. Yes, Moshe. Yes.
So Moshe. So Moshe
Someone else is
Milah to the entire nation, but he didn't give one to his son.
So let's answer your question. That story happened before Yetziat Mitzrayim. That story might have pointed out for him the importance of the Berit Milah, right? So just think about that. That's an excellent point that you're bringing up. Really excellent. But yes, I love that point that Moshe himself didn't give his son a Berit Milah and Sipurah had to give it. Maybe those stories are connected to each other. Very good. Anyone else? No, okay. Unless I missed someone. I will try to unmute you if you use a raise hand. If I don't see your video, I can't see you raising your hand. So again, I want to thank all those also. A lot of you here I see that are still on gave in comments during the class that really helped the class tremendously. So I really appreciate that. I'm assuming there's no more questions, so you can leave this meeting. And thank you so much for being part of the class today. Moshe, you have a question? Another one? No problem. Yeah. No? You're saying bye. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.